Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Roxana and I am so glad that you're here. Today I'm not really showing you anything specific, but I thought it would be fun to do a Q&A since I really don't have a lot of those videos. I think I did one. I can't remember. But anyway, I posted both here on YouTube on the community post and on Instagram on my stories about doing a Q&A video and for you guys to give me some questions. So I got a few and I think I have plenty to make a video. So let's start. I still have plants in nursery cans. Is it too late to plant them? No, actually right now is one of the best times during the year for you to put your shrubs or perennials or grasses in the ground. I know that a lot of us go check on clearance items. Stores have a bunch of sales for perennials. I know that this time of year is when I grab a bunch of shrubs and perennials for my garden. And right now in my area in Zone 5, September, October, even November, I am still planting outside. And there are some plants that are a little bit more picky than others, but general, this time of year, fall is when you should be putting everything that you have in the ground. So get to it. Favorite way to eat eggplant? I love to grow it, but I don't really like to eat it. I don't use a lot of eggplant in my cooking, but when I do use it, I really like it on the grill. I just slice it, put a little bit of seasoning on it, and I just grill it, and it tastes delicious to me. Why are you growing it if you don't like to eat it? Are you growing it for somebody else? Anyway, try it on the grill. It's delicious that way. How do you make your arch? I use T-posts and 1.5 panels of cattle panels. If you don't know what a cattle panel is, I will link a video in the description below to show you basically how I make all of these guides, all of these structures for it. For the vegetable garden, I don't think that I have one for the arch because we did it at night when my husband got home and it was dark. I couldn't film it. But basically, and you have probably seen this in a lot of videos from other people that grow vegetables on cattle panels. Basically, you can use one panel and just basically bend it. You gotta find where you want it. Put a couple of T-posts in the ground, secure, and you just bend that cattle panel, attach it with zip ties to those T-posts, and then you have your arch. However, I wanted my arch to be a little bit taller than what just one panel will be. So we did an extra half of one extra panel. So we attach it together. My husband cut the middle and attach the other half in the middle to make it taller, and that's why my arch is quite a little bit taller than most. So like I said, I have 2 T-posts on each side of the beds, and I have the panel bended inside, and I use really strong zip ties to attach the panel. And this thing is like really strong. It's not going anywhere. I know people use it to grow watermelons, squash. I have tomatoes here, which they'll be coming out probably here soon this week. It's amazing. The possibilities are endless for growing something here in an arch. What do you enjoy more, growing veggies or flowers? Okay, if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago, I would say flowers. Because as many of you know, this is only my 2nd year growing vegetables and having all these raised beds and vegetables in containers and all of that. Before that, it was just flowers. But today, I think that it's 70% flowers, 30% vegetables. I don't know. The flowers better watch out because vegetables are definitely, popular in my life. What was the name of the plant in the urn with the alyssum you divided? That was sedum, and I actually had 3 plants in there that did amazing throughout the summer. They got a little bit more shade that I wish they had, but they did well. And my idea was originally that I was going to take all those sedum, John Creech sedum, and I was going to put them in the ground. So they are perennials. They will come back for me every year, and they spread nicely, I think. They're very, very hardy plants. But when I was taking all of those dead alyssum and spent sedum that I had in that container that my lady is carrying, I saw that they were still in great condition, so I left two in there, and the third one I have in another spot in my garden, and I really like them. Sometimes when I'm making videos, I think that the person who's going to be watching these videos already knows that I had sedum there. They already know the name because they watched my video from last year when I was making that. But I have to remind myself every time. People watch your video sometimes for the first time and they have no idea what's going on there or what you're talking about. So I'm working on that. This whole YouTube thing is, it's kind of like a learning experience as I go. And even though I have been doing it for almost 2 years, I'm still learning. So, are you going to treat your sweet potato vine as a houseplant or store it dormant? Okay, so I made a video about taking trimmings from or taking cuttings from coleus and ornamental sweet potato vine. And a lot of people thought that I was going to maybe root those and store it as dormant. That's not the case. I do want to keep those alive in a cute planter inside as a house plant throughout the winter. So hopefully next year when spring comes, I can maybe take more cuttings depending how the plants look like, and or bring them outside and put them straight into the ground. So I am doing that for two reasons. One, because I want to see how easy it is to propagate coleus and sweet potato vines. And two, I want to see if I can keep them alive inside. I don't have any house plants. This will be my first winter, really, keeping living things inside as far as plants go. And it will be nice to see if I can keep them, because if that's the case, then I can propagate things from my garden that I can keep inside, enjoy them throughout the winter, and take them out the following year. When you speak Spanish, will you also put Spanish captions up? So I decided a while ago that I was not going to manually do captions for my videos. It takes a long, long time, you guys, to do that. So I am letting YouTube put the captions automatically, and the language for those captions on the videos that you watch are actually settings that you choose on your own YouTube accounts. I think that's how it works. So I actually don't choose the captions that you have for your own videos. I think that's kind of like a personal setting type of thing. But I could be wrong on that. Again, this whole YouTube thing sometimes is... This might be silly, but can I seed zinnias? So I don't know what you're asking me here. I don't know if you're asking me if you can save seeds from the zinnias that you have growing already, or if you can start zinnias from seed. Anyway, the answer is yes. You can save seeds from the zinnias that you are already growing in your garden, and I actually have a video on how I save a bunch of seeds kind of like that way. But also you can start zinnias indoors a few weeks before you are able to take them outside, or you can just put the seeds that you buy or that you save outside directly in the garden, and you'll have a really great success with those. Have you ever tried to save container annuals over winter besides saving seeds or cuttings? No, this will be my first time actually doing anything over wintering inside. I have tried saving dahlia tubers. Last year was my first time. I fail miserably. I think the technique was great, but it was a lack of checking on them a few times during the winter. I completely forgot about them, and they were fried. Have you ever heard of rose rosette disease and what to do to prevent it? Yes, I actually, about a couple of years ago, I had about 3 big shrubs of knockout roses, and the year before I took them out, they got that disease, and I didn't do anything about it. And the following year, they were completely taken over by that, and I just dug them out. They were in the area right here, actually, in the stepping stone flower bed, and I had them where I have the back thorns now. So They needed to go. They had been there forever. Those were one of my first few plants that I bought for this place. And I liked them, but they weren't my favorite. You know, it's one of those impulse buy-ins that you do, that I do most of the time anyway. But I didn't do anything. I didn't want to deal with it, and I'm not the best to tell you on that. Do you have a video of your front entrance? If yes, can you link it? No. As many of you know, I'm working on the garden, trying to, you know, make this space joyful for me, but we actually live in a house that is a fixer-upper, and we are fixing it as we live in it. So that takes time, and the front of the house is not there yet, and it's not going to be there for a while. It's a huge project that we have to do because I know what I want. We have to tear a lot of stuff down, build some stuff, come up with different solutions for a few things. It's just an old house that I absolutely love. But no, I don't have any videos for that part. What type of teacup plant do you have, and where can you purchase it? I have a coffee cups, which I believe is also known as teacups. There were a lot of people that they said to me that they are the same plants. I don't know. But coffee cups. Coffee cups is the one that I had, and I absolutely love it. And that is the one that I'm also going to try to keep indoors. I actually purchased it in one of those side of the road pop-up markets that come with plants. I know I saw them at Lowe's and possibly at Home Depot. I feel like I saw a lot of those types of plants this year. Does your family help you in the garden? Yes, I volunteer their services constantly. My kids know we're in a family, we're a team. They help with doing the dishes, cleaning the house, and weeding the garden. It's just how it is. Seeds or starts, and why? Whew. Well, I actually didn't start, I actually just started, wait, I actually just started growing plants from seed. Have to think this. This is my second year doing that. I had great success. It could get expensive, and it's definitely time consuming. I have to be there constantly checking that they had water, that they didn't have any diseases, how they were doing, potting up, moving from one place to another, yada yada. So it takes time, and depending what kind of setup you do, it could get expensive. However, I don't think that it's either or, either seeds or starts. You can have a great garden by just buying starts, and you can have a great garden by just starting things from seed. It's really up to you. I think that one of the pros of starting things from seeds is that you can start a lot of varieties of plants that you don't see locally. I cannot find nasturtiums or lace flowers or amaranth anywhere local to me. I will probably have to buy those online if I wanted to grow them in my garden. So for that reason, I think that starting things from seed is a great idea if you have the space and if you have the time. If you've never tried starting plants from seeds, I think that you should try it at least once or twice, and I think you'll be hooked. Do you have local garden friends? You talk about gardens and plants. No, I actually have, I don't believe that I have anybody local that I can talk about my plants or my gardens. I do have a lot of people on Instagram that follow me, and I follow them back, and we have created friendships. You know who you are. And I enjoy talking to them about plants and whatnot. No, and I thought actually about joining a few groups locally of gardening, and I might do that this coming year. I don't know. How long have you been gardening, and are you self-taught? Yes, everything that I know, I basically learn from books, internet, people sharing their stuff on YouTube. I am so thankful that when I decided to start growing vegetables and having the raised beds and the kitchen garden and all of that, I am so thankful that I found Jess from Roots and Refuge and Gary from the Rusted Garden. I will have links to their channels below if you're interested in following them, if you are growing your own vegetables. The amount of knowledge that they share on their YouTube channels is amazing. and I am thankful for them for sharing what they know, because that's how because I have learned a lot from them. And I think that my success in my vegetable garden has to do a lot with what they share on their own YouTube channels. And I mean, I read a lot of books about gardening. I listen to people on their podcasts talking about gardening. And you always pick up different tips from here and there, and then you decide what to do in your garden and whatnot. But yes, basically, I am self-taught. How long have I been doing it? Oh my goodness. So I will say at least 15 years or so. It wasn't quite as intense as it is now when I started. You start with a one or two plants in containers, and maybe you plant something in the ground and it comes back the next year and you get excited, and then you add a few more plants. So it started gradually becoming a huge part of my life. For your potted boxwoods, do you ever change the soil? What if they are deeply rooted? If not, how do they get nutrients? Just fertilizer? Thanks. So I feel like boxwoods are one of those plants that are not really high maintenance, at least in my experience. I have a couple of boxwoods. I actually have more than a couple. I have a few in containers. I normally keep them in the same soil, in the same container, about 2 years. I feel like 2 years is a sweet number for me to have boxwoods in containers, and then by the third year, I definitely need to pot it up, change the soil, and all of that. But that doesn't mean that I don't take care of them the first year or the second year even. So the first year, I put them in a container, fresh potting mix. I give them fertilizer, good general fertilizer is good for them, and I water them. I water them when they need it, and it's all good. The second year, when they come back in that container, I try to get a few inches from the top of the container of soil as much as I can, and I just put fresh soil, normally about 2 to 3 inches, and I add fertilizer. And again, they stay really, really well in there for the second year. And by the third year, I know that those roots are probably running out of space. The thing about boxwoods is that they don't really grow fast. They are really slow growers, so they really take their time growing in the container. So by the third year, I take them out. I put them in I put them in fresh soil in a bigger container, and they stay fine. Or I might even just put them in a spot in my garden, because by that time, they're probably already big enough for me. Do you have a compost or purchase it? I don't have the space in my garden to have a good area big enough to do compost. So I buy a lot of it, but I know there are a lot of places where you can buy like a really, really cute setups for compost. The amount of compost that I will need for my garden is just a lot. I don't think that I can even make it myself here. So I buy a lot of it. I order 1 jar most of the years just to give to my plants. And now that I have the kitchen garden, now it's just going to be more, because I need to amend the soil that way with compost. So no, I don't have one, unfortunately. For any plants you bring in for the winter, how do you treat the soil and plants for insects? This is a great question. And I have been actually researching a lot about this, because this is my first year doing that. I know that I do not want to spray anything on them. I don't want to use any chemicals. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to separate them, put them somewhere higher, trying to give them a few days in a different spot, in a shaded spot. A lot of people mention that insects, when they go into the dark, away from sunshine, that they go away, they go trying to find that. So if you put your plants, in the shaded, maybe on top of a table somewhere darker for a couple of days only, that hopefully you'll get rid of some insects that way. But also, I'm going to give them a bath. So I'm going to fill my bathtub with water, and I am not going to add anything to it, but I'm just going to give them 15 minutes or so of that time to try to kill, trying to drown a lot of things that are there. And I'm going to clean the dead stuff, I'm going to clean the leaves and all of that good stuff. But this is going to be my first year doing that, so I still don't know how all of that's going to look like. I cut some hydrangea blooms and brought them indoors and bugs started to appear. I immediately took them back outside. How do you deal with this problem? I don't have a fix for you. It's one of those things. When you bring flowers, cut flowers inside from your garden, something more than likely is going to be there. I do try to take some time, some extra minutes to use search the blooms, make sure that, you know, checking between the petals, shake them a little bit and gently, and making sure that I don't see anything living in there before I bring them inside. But I think that it happens. I think it's just going to happen. You have, you know, families of insects living there. One or two more than likely are going to go inside. I am in zone 5B and cannot for the life of me get my endless summer hydrangeas to bloom. Any tips? I don't have any tips for you because I don't have any experience with these hydrangeas. I did try to find a good link for you to answer this question, and I found a great resource for you that it's just about summer endless hydrangeas. So I will link that in the description and hopefully it can help somebody else that might have the same problem. Your favorite rose? Ooh, this one is hard because I love English roses. There are a ton of English roses that I want to try that I don't have in my garden. But I will have to say, because of my first rose being Heritage, that was my first English rose that it just literally hooked me into English roses. So I will have to say that, Heritage. Would love to know how many years did it take for your garden to be this full and lush, and how many hours per week will you say is needed to maintaining it? We moved into this property in late 2014-ish. When we moved here, there was nothing but grass. Really, there was nothing. We had a chain link fence and that's about it. I didn't start right away because I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I had an idea of the plants that I wanted. I didn't know where I wanted them. It has been quite a few years. I didn't actually plant my hydrangea hedge until 2016. So that was a couple of years later. And things have slowly progressed to where they are now. And now they're finally taking shape because what normally happens is that I go to the garden center and I fall in love with a plant and I have no idea where I'm gonna put it. That plant comes home and then a little corner or a side of my house becomes something because that plant. I am lucky that I get to work from home most of the time and I get to choose how many hours I am outside if I want to be outside that day working in the garden. But I know a lot of people don't have that. I will have to say, if I have to guess how many hours really just being outside working and not, you know, enjoying my coffee, talking to my mom, this and that, I would say about 5 to 10 hours weekly, on the low side, on the low side probably. It's really hard because I am normally out here. I spend a lot of time out here in my garden, but not all of that time I am working. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have a specific amount, but I will say 5 to 10 hours is definitely the low side. How do you become interested in gardening? Did you grow up with a garden? What is your next adventure with your platform? Do you have this hilarious sense of humor growing up? Do you guys think I'm funny? I grew up in Mexico in a very small town, very away from the city. As far as I remember, there was nature everywhere around me. I grew up with mango trees. I grew up with avocado trees, banana trees, sugar canes, what else? Oranges, you name it, all kinds all around me. It was definitely different. The way that I was surrounded by nature was different than here in central Indiana. So my mom always loved plants. My grandmother always loved plants. They grew a lot of their vegetables. And as far as I can remember, there was always a plant. There was always something growing. We were always harvesting something. It's different though. The way that I grew up is different. The way that I remember gardening from way back then is way different than what I'm doing now. And in a way, I am trying to bring all of that here. Obviously, because of our weather and because of the space, the limits that I have, I am trying to make this a place that I enjoy. I cannot grow mango or avocado trees here, but I can grow tomatoes and I can grow zinnias. What is your next adventure with your platform? I don't really have a plan. I started making YouTube videos because, and I don't know if I shared this before. I started making YouTube videos because I wanted to share what was going on in my garden, but I have this idea in mind, and this is probably very selfish of me, but I have this idea that one day my grandkids or my grandkids will have the chance to know me, the gardener, the person that love growing tomatoes and zinnias through this channel. Just imagine somebody in your family that maybe is no longer with you, one of your grandparents, or maybe even your parents. Maybe you didn't get the chance to know them. Wouldn't it be cool if you saw them in their youth when they were still looking great? Working in their garden, working in their kitchen, learning that they hated kale, but they love zucchini. I mean, I don't know, things like that. I have this idea, and like I say, it's very, very selfish. But that's really the whole reason behind this YouTube channel. And also it has gotten to the point where, you know, I get to share, I get to show you what I do. You guys comment, you guys like the content. So it's a great hobby for me. I don't really have anything different right now for my YouTube channel. I'm a new follower, enjoy your content. Thank you. I think you mentioned being a photographer. Does that influence how and where you place your plants? I love to cook, and when I make a dish, I'm always thinking of how the finished product will look in pictures before I even start. So funny that you mentioned that because I think that you just nail it. When I was making the slides to make these questions, I came into yours and I thought, this guy gets it, or sorry, this girl gets it. Yes, where my property is, I am able to have morning light and I see just a little bit of the sunset, just enough for that gorgeous light to come through. So when I am placing my plants, first I have to, know, do they like shade, do they like sun, how much sun, how big are they gonna get? And from there, I think picture perfect. How will this plant help me? Where can I put it so that when I take pictures of this corner of this area, that it could be a better picture? So yes, I think that being a photographer and having a nice composition of a picture influence a lot of what I do in the garden. I don't know if this even makes sense for some of you. Do you have a favorite garden center? I live in central Indiana too. Yes, I am going to leave a couple of links below of the 3 that I am going to be tagging today. Sundown Gardens in Carmel, Allisonville Nursery in Fishers, and Forest Flower, Indy. They're in Indianapolis as well. They're all on the northern side of Indianapolis, so good luck. Do you have any plans for putting in a small pond? I think a little pond will look awesome in your jar. Ooh, probably not anytime soon. Like I mentioned, I don't have a huge area that I can work with. I am little by little taking a little bit of grass here and there to the point where mowing is like a quick 10-minute thing to do. So no, I don't have any plans for that anytime. I would love to know how you build your stone pathway. Where do you purchase the slates? It was actually an unexpected blessing. My husband actually called me that he found a bunch of these slates in a dumpster and they were going to be taken away by the end of the day. So I grabbed the pickup truck, I drove where he was, he helped me load them into the truck and they were free. I didn't know at the time, again, where I was going to put them, but I knew that they couldn't just be trash. So I brought them home and then I realized they needed to be there in that pathway. Before that, I had grass. So what I did, I basically removed all that grass. I didn't put any wheat fabric down before putting the slates because I wanted to have some sort of moss growing in between the stones. I quickly realized a year after doing that that it was a magnet for weeds, even growing in between the moss. So recently what I did is that I removed all of that moss and I took the stones out again. I put wheat fabric down really thick on that, and then I cover with gravel, and so far I am loving it. I've been buying plants at Lowe's, but they aren't thriving. Do you have a specific place that you purchase plants or seeds? Yes, so for seeds, I love Baker Creek's and Johnny's. I also purchase from Park Seed. You're going to get what you pay for sometimes. And I know a lot of people buy from Lowe's or Menards or Walmart and they have really great success with the seeds. I think it just depends the company and it depends the type of seeds that you buy. When I was researching about starting my own vegetable garden, I came to the conclusion that a lot of people were using these companies, Johnny's and Baker Creek's, and while they're a little bit, just a tiny bit more expensive, I feel like they're worth it. For plants, I have two options for you online. Great Garden Plants, they're amazing, and Proven Winners Direct, they're also amazing, so check them out. Can you give us some photography tips? Your photos and videos are gorgeous. Thank you. I also have a second question for this. What is your best tip for taking a good flower garden photo? There has been a few messages from people telling me that I should make a video about how to film and how to take better pictures of my flowers or the garden in general. I think this is a great subject, but I don't know that I'm the best person to teach you. I am not a good teacher, you guys. But a lot of that also has to do with, the type of camera that you use. There are tons of great, amazing cameras out there. And if you didn't know, I'm a photographer, I'm a wedding photographer. So the cameras that I use here to film and for taking pictures are a little bit on the more expensive side. Like if I wasn't a photographer, I wouldn't be spending thousands of dollars on a camera used to take pictures of the garden. But maybe you do. So I am going to be giving you a couple of tips. Regardless of the camera, the type of camera that you will be using, or if you're just using your phone, these tips are more like general for taking pictures of your flowers. So wait for the shade. And by this, I mean, right now you see me filming, everything is shaded. I have a little bit of sunshine back there. It's somewhat late in the morning, so the sun is getting a little bit harsh, but still I'm in the shade, so I look good. Wait for the shade. If your area doesn't have a shade, period, because it's in full sun, there are no trees around, make your own shade. If you have a flower, maybe small bucket, I have used blankets before. I have my kids holding blankets behind it just to give it some shade. If I'm taking a picture, if I really want to picture that moment of that flower because of whatever reason, then I make my own shade if it's a small flower. If you're taking pictures of a whole landscape, I will say go really, really early in the morning when the sunlight is just barely starting to come up, or wait really, really late in the day, right about sunset, or what we call golden light. I love to take pictures during this time, sunset time, because the light is just amazing. And my biggest concern when it comes to taking pictures is the light. I will not be choosing to take pictures at noon of any of my flowers because they will not look their best. Just like this doesn't look the best in my opinion. It doesn't matter from what angle I shoot it. I wouldn't want to be filming a video where everything just looks like this, really bright. My background, it's really bright as well. I got sunlight, I got the sunshine all over me, and it's not even noon yet. It gets worse as the day gets brighter. So wait until sunset or sunrise really early or really late in the day for better pictures. That's it for this video, you guys. I hope that you enjoy it. If you have any questions or any comments, just let me know below. Check the links that I will be adding. If you're not subscribed to the channel, maybe today is the day to do that. Thank you for being here, and until the next time.